Our film today begins with Sue, who sits in school dreaming about finding food like everyone else. After school, she rides in the car with her friend's mother so she can get home, but she gets off halfway, in a place where there's no one around. Her friend secretly follows her without realizing and finds her homeless on the streets with her little brother, living only on instant noodles. At the end of each day, they go back to sleep in their car because they simply have no house. Their father is negligent, and their mother, Yoon, spends all day going from company to company looking for a job. When Sue sees her friend coming toward her, she feels deeply embarrassed and tells her they're only staying there temporarily until their new home is ready in a week. But her friend suddenly bursts into tears, saying they can't be friends anymore because Sue has no home and her mother won't let her play with her again. Yet the girl turns out to be loyal, telling her, "We'll stay friends just the same, and I won't tell anyone your secret." Meanwhile, Sue's mother is in a job interview, but her CV doesn't include an address. She tells the interviewer that he already knows her well and doesn't need it. Then the company owner comes in with her pampered dog. Yoon looks at the dog with envy because it lives a better life than she does. The dog takes shampoo baths while she can't even afford food for her kids. When Sue gets back home, meaning to their car, she starts arguing with her mother, saying, "You told me we'd stay here for just a week, and now it's been almost a month. When will we have a home like everyone else?" Her mother, overcome with frustration, steps outside and cries alone so the children won't see her. The next day at school, Sue talks with her friend about the house situation. Her friend says the house must be expensive, maybe around $100 or so. Suddenly, their classmate interrupts and says, "You kids know nothing. Houses cost way more than that. Ours is $500 a month." Sue gets even more worried and goes outside for some air. Later, the teacher tells her that her birthday is next month and asks her to have her mother call to plan the party. Afterward, her friend tells her, "But you don't even have a house. Where will you throw the party?" Sue answers, "I have to find a house before my birthday so I can hold the party there and invite everyone." The two go straight from school to a real estate office to look at houses. Among the listings, there's one labeled $500 per square meter. They misunderstand it and say, "That's perfect. $500 is a great price, and the area is full of plants and trees." Sue declares that it's her dream house. She then goes to the restaurant where her mother works and waits at the door until Yoon comes out, telling her to take her little brother, buy bread and falafel with the 21 she gives her, and not forget to do the laundry. But Sue wants to save the money so she can reach the $500 quickly. She goes to a pizza shop and tells the owner she has 8 coupons and asks if she can trade them for a free pizza, promising to bring the remaining 2 later. He refuses. Sue then searches the trash, hoping someone might have thrown out a coupon, and by coincidence, finds a poster about a lost dog with a $500 reward. She runs to her friend, excited, and says, "This is our chance. We must find that dog and get the reward." Her friend agrees, but asks, "Where would we even find it?" Sue says they should call first to make sure the people aren't scammers. They call the number on the flyer, and the owner says, "We already found him. He was hiding in the garden." Sue gets angry and yells at the phone, "Search properly next time before posting ads." Later that day, Sue goes back to where the car was parked, hungry, tired, and sad, only to find it gone. A tow truck has taken it. She and her mother rush to the traffic office to pay the fine and retrieve it, then drive around endlessly looking for somewhere to park. Exhausted, Sue suggests, "Let's just go to Auntie's," but Yoon refuses, saying if they do that, she'll have to transfer her from school and deal with a lot of trouble. Sue insists, "Wouldn't that be better than being homeless like this?" They end up shouting at each other until her little brother wakes up. The next day at school, their classmate reminds Sue about the party and asks if her house is big enough for everyone. Yoon, her friend, snaps back at him, "Do you think she lives in a fancy house like yours? Don't compare yourself to her. Your house next to hers looks like a doghouse." Hearing that, Sue suddenly gets an idea. She tells her friend, "We'll steal a dog from a rich family and then return it as if we found it, so we can collect the reward." They both start planning immediately. They decide to look for a small dog from a rich family, so it'll be easy to carry and not a police dog that might bite them. But Sue's little brother ruins their plans, asking, "Where will you hide the dog if you even manage to take it? Dogs need food. Do you have money for that?" And the place is full of cameras. Even though everything he says makes sense, they get annoyed and tell him to go to his mother's restaurant. He does, but unfortunately, he finds his mother being scolded for breaking a plate. The manager, Park, yells at her because her kids keep coming to the shop. "This is a business, not a daycare," he says. She pleads, I'll just give him some food and send him off. But Park is nervous because his aunt might come by and get angry if she sees him being lenient. And indeed, that's exactly what happens. His aunt arrives with her dog to check on the restaurant. Park freezes, terrified she'll see Yoon and her son. Only when she leaves safely does he breathe again. Meanwhile, Sue and her friend are sitting near the restaurant and spot the aunt leaving with her little dog, perfectly fitting the kind they're after. The question now is, how will they steal it? When Park goes downstairs, he finds Yoon protecting her son and argues with her, saying, "Why don't you live here with your kids?" Yoon replies, "It's only for one day. I won't let him come tomorrow. Be kind. God will reward you." The conversation grows tense, and the aunt overhears everything, watching Yoon bathe her son in the restaurant, and she fires both of them. Still, there's one good thing. Yoon receives her end-of-service pay and books 2 nights in a hotel so the kids can finally rest properly instead of sleeping in the car. When Sue meets her friend again, she says, "I've decided we'll steal Marcel's dog." She watches the dog's routine and learns its whole path. The best time to steal it is when it goes to the grooming clinic for its pedicure and manicure, where Park is usually distracted, trying to flirt with the women there. After they finish planning, Sue goes back to the car, where her mother surprises her and her brother with good news. "I found us a house." They're overjoyed, singing and dancing all the way there, until they see the place and freeze. The house itself looks unlivable, needing a new house to fix it. And it's not even theirs. It belongs to Yoon's friend who went abroad and told them to stay until she returns. Still, the house is barely habitable, and the kids are too scared to sleep inside, preferring the car instead. The next day, Sue and Yoon go to school as usual. During PE class, they sneak away to execute their plan. Sue first steals some dog food to lure Marcel and sets it along his path until he reaches the room where they're hiding. When she runs to grab him with the net, he escapes into the street. After a long chase, the dog manages to return to his owners. Sue returns home, exhausted and miserable, but Yoon comforts her, saying, "Now you can bathe here. We have running water like everyone else." But Sue, crushed by disappointment, says nothing and just gets into the car. When they arrive, they find their bags thrown in the street and the door locked with a padlock. They go back to sleeping in the car, washing up in a public bathroom. Before leaving for work, Yoon tells Sue to come straight to the car after school, to stay with her brother because her new job starts very early, though she doesn't tell her what the job is. The next morning, Sue wakes to find her mother already gone. She left at dawn to work at a ready meal factory. At school, Sue and her friend discuss finding another way to steal a dog, maybe from the restaurant, but they'll need someone on the inside. So immediately thinks of Sok, the boy who used to visit his mother at the restaurant. He gives them valuable information. The dog is alone during lunch hours, but there are 2 guards at the door, so they'll have to lure it out quietly. Meanwhile, Park sneaks into his aunt's office to steal her documents and find out who will inherit her fortune, and gets the shock of his life when he discovers she has written everything in the dog's name. To make it legal, she left Park as the dog's guardian. His friend tells him to steal her seal and let them handle the rest. Everything will appear under her name, but he'll have to get rid of the dog before she dies. Sue, on the other hand, doesn't rest until she steals fresh dog food. She gets Yoon to put on the rope tag and follow 2 customers inside, pretending to be their daughter. Sue then throws a small remote control toy under the table without being seen. As planned, she lures the dog out of its room with food, while from outside, they control the toy to distract everyone. Everything goes smoothly until Park appears at the last moment, grabs the dog, and ruins their plan again. But then something strange happens. Park quickly puts the dog in his friend's car trunk and goes back inside to fetch his aunt's seal. And that's when Sue and her friend seize the opportunity. They go and steal the dog from the trunk of the car, running quickly outside before anyone sees them. Park thinks that now his friend will be forever grateful to him for getting rid of the dog, so that he alone can inherit everything. A little while later, Madame Marcel goes to check on the dog, Wally, but doesn't find him in his room. She flips out and yells at everyone, "If you don't find that dog, you're all fired." Shocked and overwhelmed, she faints. When she wakes up a little later, the first thing she asks about is the dog. Park tells her they're still looking for him, but can't find a trace. She snaps, "Then get out of my sight, right now." Shortly afterward, his friend calls and tells him the dog isn't in the car at all. But not to worry, he has everything under control. Still, Park feels terrified that the dog might suddenly show up and ruin everything for them. Meanwhile, Sue and her little brother are sitting next to the dog in their hiding place, knowing they have to let him go before their mother finds out. Sue keeps reassuring her brother he won't stay here for long. Tomorrow morning the posters will be everywhere, and then we'll claim the $500 reward. We can buy the house we want, and on my birthday, I'll throw a big party and invite all my friends." The next morning, she checks on the dog and finds a homeless man sitting beside him, feeding him and taking good care of him. Later, she and her friend go around looking for any missing dog posters, but can't find any. So she decides to go to Madame Marcel's house herself to tell her she saw the dog. When she arrives, Park opens the door and tells her coldly, "We don't want that dog anymore. We're not even looking for him." Luckily, Marcel overhears before Sue leaves and stops her, asking, "You really saw Wally? Where? Tell me quickly." Sue says, "I saw him near my school, but I don't know where he went after that. To find him, you should make posters with a phone number and a reward. People will care more that way." Marcel takes her advice seriously and asks, "How much should I offer as a reward, in your opinion?" Sue answers instantly, $500. Marcel likes the idea and tells Park, "Go do it right now." When Sue returns to the place where she's hiding the dog, she finds the same homeless man building a little wooden house for him. He tells her, "I saw a poster down the street for a lost dog that looks exactly like this one. Funny thing, the name's the same too." Sue panics, runs to her friend, and says, "We're in trouble. We have to take down all the posters right now before that man reports us." The two rush to the pizza shop guy, the one they always argue with, and convince him to ride around the city on his motorbike, removing every poster. The next day, Sue takes one of the posters and goes to Madame Marcel's house, but finds police there clearing the property, the whole place in chaos. She feels miserable and remembers the day her father left and they were kicked out of their home. She tells Marcel, "I know how this feels. I've been through it before, but you'll never know what it's like to be homeless, to live in a car like us." Marcel feels sorry for her and says, "Come, let me show you something. You see that beautiful painting? It's worth $250,000. The artist died at 30 before he could paint much more. Do you know who that artist was? My son. He loved painting so much he wanted to quit school, but I didn't let him. He left me this house and walked away. Before he left, he told me I was the person he hated most in his life. Until he died, I never heard from him again. I only saw him once more, when I went to collect his body. He had a dog with him." That's when Sue realizes that the dog, Wally, was her son's dog. That's why Marcel loves him so much and can't live without him. He's the only thing she has left of her child. Sue quietly hides the poster she was carrying behind her back. When she returns to the car, she argues with her mother about their miserable life, shouting, "What now? We wait another week. I'm sick of this. And by the way, you're the reason we're like this. If you hadn't fought with Dad and told him you were tired of him, none of this would have happened. Even if you'd been the one to leave, our lives would have been better than this." She gets out of the car with her brother and sits near the dog and the homeless man for a while. Later, when they return to the car, they experience real panic. Their mother isn't there. They think she's dead, just like their father. In reality, she's been frantically searching the streets for them, terrified, until she finally finds them. She grabs them and gives them a scolding, hitting them lightly, warning them never to do that again. And then all three sit crying together for a while. The next day, Sue regains her senses and decides she won't throw a party or anything like that. She goes with her friend to return the dog to Marcel, just as they took him. But when they get there, the dog isn't in his hiding place. Sue thinks the homeless man must have taken him to claim the reward for himself. Soon, though, they see him coming and start yelling at him, accusing him of stealing the dog's food. He laughs and says, "I didn't eat your dog. I was out looking for him. If you don't believe me, look at the ground. Those are tire tracks from one wheel, not four. It wasn't me." Sue realizes the one-wheel track must be from the pizza man's motorbike. They start following him and soon discover he really did steal the dog. He takes the dog to Park so he can get the $500 reward. Sue and her friends say, "It's fine, we were going to return him anyway." But Sue tells them, "Wait, his house is the other way, the opposite direction the car is going." So they all jump on the tricycle and rush after the car, but the poor old engine can barely move. Even a donkey would have been faster. Hong says, "Don't worry, I'll handle it." But the police spot him driving recklessly and start chasing him, trying to pull him over. Sue quickly opens the bundle of money and bribes the officer, making him pull over instead. Meanwhile, Park arrives at the place he wanted. As soon as he opens the car door, the dog jumps out and runs straight to the spot where Sue had hidden him, with Park right behind. The others reach the area with their tricycle, just as the police car blocks their way, so they ditch it and run on foot. But when they reach him, they find him preparing a syringe to inject the dog. They rush him, and the needle ends up piercing his own hand instead. Before he can reach the door, he gets dizzy and collapses from the injection. At that moment, the police finally arrive. Sue tells the officer, "This man stole our dog." The officer thanks them and arrests Park. They all hop on quickly, and they ride straight to Marcel's house to return the dog. Sue asks her friend and brother to let her go in alone so she can quietly return the dog, just as she took him. She apologizes to the dog for what she did, explaining that she only needed the money to buy a house, just like his. Suddenly, Park appears with a stick and says, "Your mother told you to do this, didn't she?" Sue insists, "No. It was my idea. I wanted the $500 to buy a house." He laughs mockingly. "A house for $500, you idiot?" She says, "Yes, this one in the picture." He scoffs, "That's the price for 1 square meter. Now hand over the dog before I crack your head open." But she refuses and hides the dog behind her. At that moment, Marcel comes downstairs and shouts, "What are you doing here, you tramp?" Park snaps, shouting back, "I saw your will. Don't act dumb. You left all your money to the dog. What's he going to do, start a business? I'm the last one in this miserable family. I deserve that inheritance." Marcel says, "So you're staying with me just to wait for me to die and inherit? Get out. I have no family left, only this dog." After he leaves, Sue decides to confess everything. She tells Marcel that she was the one who stole the dog. He was never lost. And she recounts the whole story from the beginning. How her father left, how hard things got, and how she wanted to use the reward money to buy a home. She cries and apologizes deeply. When Sue returns home, she finds her mother has prepared a small meal to celebrate her birthday quietly. A few days later, they come up with a new idea to use their truck to sell street food. And it turns out to be a success, earning them good profit. In the final scene, we see the little family happily moving into a beautiful new apartment. And that's how the movie ends. If you made it to the end, don't forget to like the video, leave a nice comment as always, and subscribe to the channel for more summaries to come. Goodbye.